All right. Oh my gosh, it is so good to be back, y'all. Man, we got some stories for you today, man. We are going to be talking about the new selections for the women's Olympic rugby team for USA. Summer test matches are coming up. We got whole rosters ready for that. Including, of course, we're also going to be talking about what's been going on in Australia, because on one hand, you got Eddie Jones saying domestic rugby is done in Australia, and on the other hand, we got ex-rugby players chasing down stabbers, baby. Chasing them down. All right, and of course, we're going to talk a little bit about what is going on with the repêché. We got them happening this weekend, and so much more. Y'all, this is Rugby Swag. Don't miss a second of this. We're going to be back, but let's get to this intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest of all time, the greatest of all time.
Welcome to the Rugby Swag Show. Welcome back to Rugby Swag. My name is Gift Time Abelu. Of course, this is a show where we talk to people about the opportunities they found, created, or taken advantage of via rugby while keeping you up with all the good and blessed rugby news that is going on around the world, y'all. Man, my name is Gift Time Abelu, and it is great to be back, y'all. I have been out for the last 2 weeks, and honestly, it has been an inconsistent last like 3-4 weeks, but it's okay because it happened for a perfect reason. My babies came in, my little boy and my little girl hit the streets finally, and it has been great. I have not gotten any real sleep. I am definitely very tired, but it is worth every little bit to be able to hold my twins in my arms and be able to know what the future is, and the future is looking rugby, baby. Looking very, very rugby, man. And I'm excited to be back. Y'all, I know the last time we got a chance to talk, I think there was only one group of people that would have been able to see anything on this, and that was those who had the YouTube stream, because YouTube channel, because the mic went out. Like, I had seemed to lost my camera, of course, and while we were at the Airbnb getting ready for my wife to give birth. By the way, thank you so much, Abel Rosa. Long time no see. I hope you've been doing well, brother. Hope you've been doing absolutely well. But, you know, when we were at the Airbnb waiting for it, for some reason, my original webcam grew legs and walked off into the abyss. I don't know where it went, but, you know, I was unable to do a show normally, so I had to use my phone while trying to organize it from my computer, and then my phone shut off, and all of a sudden I didn't even realize that the microphone concept went out, and boom, I basically got 2 segments in, and the rest is just silence. So you know, it is what it is, but you know, we're back. We got a new camera. We're back inside the house. The setup is all good. Babies are doing fine. Don't get me wrong. We got a buku load of help, but it is still something that is really, really great to be able to do. So my objectives, my initiatives are that much sharper now as a result of that. And speaking of objectives and initiatives, y'all, I really want to be able to have you guys go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Absolutely leave a comment on the videos and absolutely on the podcast, because I need my babies to be able to get fed. And this is going to help me get my babies fed a little bit. No, and also allows you guys to be able to keep up with what we have going on, keep up with sending in the rugby news, and trying to be able to make sure that we can consistently have more and more things come up as they continue to go. And of course, you guys, if you want, please check us out on our social media. You can check us out at Rugby Swag Show. And Instagram, you can check us out at Gift Abelu, GIFTEGBELU on X. And then on all other platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, you can find us at Gift Time Rugby. That is Gift Time with 2 T's, Rugby. And look, you know what? For those who are trying to be able to share with their friends, and maybe their friends don't want to take the time to watch the videos or the clips, you can absolutely check us out on audio, all podcast platforms, from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube Studio, since Google Play is no longer there. and check us out and be able to make sure that you catch every bit that we can. Yo, 53817E, man, it is good. I know it has been. It really has been. Look, I apologize again. Baby's coming through, but hey, man, I hope you're good as well. I miss you guys. I miss the conversations that we have during our segments. So we're going to be back on it on a regular because it is game time, and it's about to heat up even more this summer. We know this, and we're going to talk about it a lot more going through. But before we get to this first story of the day, all right, before we get into it, thank you very much, 53817E, man. I appreciate it, man. I definitely appreciate it. I'm really happy to be a dad. It's a very strange thing to say out loud, but it is truly a blessing. But before we get into it, let's talk to the people that help us get to what we need to get to so we can keep the babies fed, we can keep the rugby flowing, and we can keep all our happiness going. Yeah, let's go. We'll be right back. We're going to talk a little bit of the women's Olympic rugby roster right after these messages by Health Enhanced Food. This is Rugby Swag Show with Gifted Bailey. We'll be right back.
I'm going to let you get back to the show in a moment, but I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Health Enhanced Foods, the best specialty flours in the business. What does that mean for you? That is the flours that allow you to be able to get the nutritious need from your bread make. That's muffins, bread, croissants, whatever, pancakes and muffins. It will give you the opportunity to be able to get the best while still being able to eat like you wanted to. We have various amounts of products available for those who have special dietary needs to those who are looking for a special health outcome. And of course, because they're part of the Rugby Swag Show, we want to let you know that you got a chance to go to healthenhancedfoods.com and use code Rugby Swag to be able to get 20% off your first order. Y'all, this is something that you're going to need. You got to build up, have your energy at the best, be the maximum. It's 2024. Let's do the best. But now, I want you guys to get into it. Let's get back to the show.
Yo, let's get back to this. All right, y'all. Let's kick this off. We got the U.S. Rugby Women's Olympic team selections having been made, and I think this is probably one of the best rosters that we've seen in the three Olympics that we've had. But I think it's a very, very high potential, and I think for the first time we have like a legitimate balance of new and old. But, yo, we got to talk about how they revealed this because this was legit fire. I don't always give a lot of credit to USA Rugby. I'm not gonna lie. I don't give a whole lot of credit. We know they make a lot of mistakes. They've definitely jacked up a lot of things that are under their belt. But this rollout, I think, is as good as any rollout it could be. And I really am gonna put it on the men to see if they're gonna be able to live up to the standard because they got their asses handed to them on this one if they don't do something with it. But, yo, check this baby out. Hold on. All right, there we go.
The Olympics. Some would say an American dream that's out of this world. I'm NASA astronaut Jessica Watkins. Astronauts are a lot like athletes, always striving to be the best versions of ourselves for our team. I couldn't be prouder to introduce to you this team. Pride of Alaska, making her third Olympic appearance, Alev Kelter, one of the youngest to make an Eagles debut, and now a veteran on the field. Kayla Kinnett, she'll protect the pitch and the earth she plays on, none other than Elena Olsen. You've laughed with her, you've cried with her, you've watched her dominate the rugby pitch. Ilona Mar. From D1 college basketball to the Olympic Games on the rugby pitch, Steph Rubet. You know her as Spin. Alex Cedric. Fast, agile, smart. Did we say fast? Ariana Ramsey. San Diego, stand up. Sarah Levy going to the Olympics. Finding rugby only a few years ago, she's the Olympic dream personified. Christy Hershey. Honored and decorated, U.S. Army captain and rugby enforcer Sammy Sullivan. A leader, a veteran, a legend. Chris Thomas. The enforcer and Montana's own Nicole Haverland. Oh, captain, my captain. three-time Olympian and OG Lauren Doyle, one of the best to ever step out on the rugby pitch. Tri-champion and co-captain Naya Tapper. It doesn't get any better than this. USA! This is the Olympics. It's time for launch. See you in Paris.
Yo, I mean, honestly, like you can't even get mad at that. That was a roll. That is what you want as a U.S. citizen, as a U.S. fan. That is what we are owed as far as a rollout. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, we still need to get a performance out of this. We still need to see an end game from this. But my goodness, like that got chills for me because I'm ready. The Olympics has always been, I think, the best presentation that we've had of rugby on a stage that everybody gives a crap about. Like, it is the one where you actually make the changes. And as a U.S. person, I feel like we failed significantly each time when it's come to that. And so just to feel like, okay, we got something to lead into. We got something to scale into. Oh, we can do something with this. I'm excited to see what is going to end up happening. But I want to talk about this roster a little bit here because I do think that this has been a pretty balanced roster, especially compared to what we had from the 2020-2021 Olympics, where we saw probably one of the, I guess, oldest rosters that we had compared to everybody else. Give it out to Abel Rose. Like, that was, I know, right? That mug was awesome. Like, it was absolutely legit. Shout out to USA Rugby Media, you know, for them putting this together. Maybe the USA Olympic team, you know, USA people too. But whatever it is, I'm giving credit where credit is due. But I do feel like this, where Emily Bidwell has put together a roster that I feel has a better chance of being competitive than we were in 2021, because I think despite the fact that we have a bunch of repeats, and shout out and sadness to some of the people that we lost on this that weren't able to make it, that we'll talk about in a moment. But you know, it does balance it out. You know, bringing in veterans, we got Naya Tapper. Shout out to Naya, friend of the show, and friend overall, who was able to get captainship. She's been killing it for the last 3 years as a captain through the HSBC Sevens tournament, and being able to get co-captain with this alongside Lauren Doyle, massive deal. And I do think this is a position that she absolutely can absolutely kill. You know, obviously HSBC Sevens, they finished out 4th, so it's not out of the range of possibility for us to be able to medal at least in something in this rugby tournament. But bringing in like those that balance of Naya Tapper, Lauren Doyle, Nicole Haverland, Alef Kelter, great. But what I think hurt us last time was that we had a lot of people who were aged up. You know, a lot of people who were aged up and were not able to have great follow through, to say the least, when we went up against more athletic teams and just younger teams, namely Great Britain, Australia, and the likes like that. Abel Rosa goes, yo, men's sevens will have to get Matt Damon just to top that. Yeah. Hey man, Ben Affleck's available too, man. Don't knock him out the side. Man needs a distraction from all his relationship stuff. But you know, I feel like we've gotten a better aspect. We got new blood that's like Ariana Ramsey, young. We got Sammy Sullivan, young. We got Spiff Cedric, absolutely. And it allows us now to be able to have some people who can continue to play past a certain level. And I do feel like there's a few that I really wanted to touch on, because for the last few years, Alef Kelter has been probably the premier element on this. And I absolutely think that she's going to actually end up being on the side. Impactful, but she's not the most impactful that we could have on this one. And I want to talk about the 4 players that I really think are going to make the biggest difference for the women's team to be able to have a chance at getting medaled and hopefully getting a gold. Because, you know, I'm saying medaled because right now we still got our, what do we call it? Our weakness against New Zealand and Australia, namely Australia. I do feel like we have stuff to match at this time, but we got to be able to see. Now, before I get into those 4, we got to talk about the people who did not make it, who were part of the Olympics in part of the Olympics in Japan for the 2020, 2021 that didn't make it. Cheta Emba, another friend of the show, unfortunately was not able to make it, which is sad, just considering that, this would have been her third one and her second full-time, but unfortunately it wasn't possible. Jordan Matthias, who's always played great at 8-man on the 15s team, and I think she got a little bit more exposed as a forward for 7s. Not that she wasn't a talented player, absolutely talented, but again, getting older, plus not able to make the adjustments. Nia Tolliver, who I thought honestly had the chance to make it. I do think that she might be a little bit on the older side, but I thought she would have had a chance to make it. Casey McCravey, no idea, and Nana Favasi, who basically retired. She retired. It's not a big deal on that one at all. But it allows us to be able to see a little bit more of what we could do. Again, the Cheta Emba one actually hurts my heart because I really love seeing her at forward center. So hopefully we get a chance to talk to her a little bit about that and, help us guide through this a little bit more. But let's go to the 4 players that I absolutely do believe are going to make the biggest difference for the women's teams and this. And we've seen this through the HSBC Sevens tournament, but again, that is a sampling, and Olympics is a different mindset. And with the addition of the Great Britain team, that also always adds another caveat to this all. So the teams that the players that I believe have the largest impact on this women's team, and not to take away from anything, rugby is a team sport. I get it. But you have impact players. All right, you got impact players. What can I say? All right. So obviously, first off, top and foremost, Nia Tapper. All right, Nia Tapper is literally, if not arguably, the best USA women's rugby player, or at least USA women's sevens player of all time. I would argue that she could be on the 15s. We've seen her do it, but her focus has been on sevens primarily. She's done good on the 15 side, but I would say Nia is definitely number one on this one because as captain, she's going to have to be guiding this so well. All right. She's got the experience. She's been on back-to-back Olympic teams. She technically should have been able to make it in 2016, got into situations, got her head right afterwards. Not a big deal. And she was young at that point too, so it didn't matter. But, you've been in this she's been a part of this team for almost a decade now. She is as veteran as we can get and still being able to be an impact player. I think last year we saw a little bit of a reduction in her speed, but we know her for her power. I think from not last year, the 2020-2021 team, I think Pat Clifton said it first with NCR, and if you guys don't remember, he used to be with Rugby Mag and stuff like that. He said it best. We had a team that was full of running backs and tight ends, but we were lacking in wide receivers, meaning we had a lot of power players who were able to make great short-term plays, but would wear down overall over time, but more importantly, didn't have the breakaway. And we kind of thought Nia had that breakaway. I don't know, not to say that she's not able to, but I think her power has now come better in her tackling and in wearing down defenses. And then if given the opportunity, she can get the cutaway and take it away as anybody else. Not taking away her athleticism, just take it away. But her leadership ability, I think, is what is going to be the biggest factor on this. And her athleticism is going to end up being a wear down for other teams. Next, we've got Ilyona Mar. And now, Ilyona Mar, 2020-2021 was the beginning of the fame of Ilyona Mar. And for the last 4 years, from a marketing and social media standpoint, she has been top to bottom, probably the most exposed rugby person in the world. All right. I'm saying more so than Charlotte Caslick, even though Charlotte probably has way more sponsorships, but that's Australia. Exposed more than Portia Woodman Wycliffe, exposed more than Emily Scarrett, who's just coming back. Like, she has been the most imaged since the 2020-2021 Olympics. But that being said, you cannot take away her impact, because a lot of people would think fame is also a detractor from effort on the field. And a lot of this offense really runs around the fact that Ilyona Mar can take in 2-3 people. She's very similar to what Danny Barrett used to do for the men's side all those years. And she still is absolutely able to make an impact from that prop hooker side, prop center side. I think, though, it's going to really, her focus, I hope this year, is less on the TikTok, because obviously it's not COVID, which was a big advantage. There's, not going to be probably as much downtime. They're probably going to have to be doing more external press releasing. But even if she does do a bunch of TikTok stuff, I know her focus is going to be on what's happening on the field. And against teams like New Zealand and Australia, who are absolutely going to be gunning in and really going to be able to show their full athleticism. I'm talking about New Zealand. I'm talking about Australia. And Fiji. Let's not underestimate them. I really do believe that her factor is going to come in. Don't worry, Abel Rose. I'm going to get to you, answer your questions in a second, but no worries on that. Next, Kayla Kinnett at fly half. We saw it in the video. Now, Lauren Doyle at co-captain is the fly half, but I think Kayla Kinnett is actually where the future stands. I think she is faster. I think she's a better tackler. Obviously, she is younger. I think she has less wear and tear on her, but her experience level is sky high. All right. She's been to this. She's done this. And I think that she is much more of a magic maker. But at fly half especially, it's going to be really necessary, because trying to take advantage of the edges are going to be huge. All right. When you got Sammy Sullivan, even though she's coming off a prop hooker position, Sammy Sullivan is a walking 15, 20 meter runner. All right. She's going to be a crash and go into your try zone. You got Alev Kelter, who's going to be a second half demon. All right. You need to make sure you get her on the edge. You got what's her name? Cedric on the coming off the edges alongside Ariana Ramsey, who we'll talk a little bit more about, who absolutely Spiff Cedric, who absolutely need to be able to get the ball. They absolutely need to get the ball. And the only way you can do that is to be absolutely keyed in. And I feel like Kayla Kinnett is probably going to be the best fly half for this, especially in the knockout stages, however that is going to end up going. And then lastly, the player that is coming back with experience, I think in the 2020-2021 Olympics, she was fresh. All right. She wasn't playing that great. We saw the potential, but she was fresh coming into that. 4 years later, her experience has gone up. That's Ariana Ramsey. She's probably the youngest on the team right now, but I truly believe that we finally have a breakaway player. The other one is Spiff Cedric coming off from center, but I do think she's going to be battling a little bit with Alev Kelter on that, whether that should be or not. But Ariana Ramsey is probably one of the best closers that USA Rugby has. All right, USA Rugby women have. Her tackling has improved. She's still small. She's still like more of a, I'm going to get my body in the way so that everybody else can come and tackle. But I do truly believe that she is going to be the difference maker, because when we had the last one, I'm always going to go back to what 2020, 2021 was. F the HSBC sevens. Like, that is just practice for the Olympics. Whenever we went up against a Great Britain, and Jasmine Joyce with her small, quick, ridiculously fast self was gashing us all throughout. We had no responsive answer for that. We had nobody who could just go and cut dimes to be able to get in for a long try. With Ariana Ramsey, I do believe that we have that finally. And then, like I said, I keep also mentioning Spiff Cedric. She has the breakaway speed as well. She absolutely has the breakaway speed. I do still believe Ariana Ramsey is where it's going to be at. And with Nia, I know she's listed at wing. Nia's going to be playing much more center style than she's going to be playing pure wing. 100%. You cannot use all that strength and all that power and just keep it on the edge without using it to maneuver people around, just by the way that the team plays. Like, that's what. And again, when you're going up against Charlotte Caslick, you're going against Madison for Australia. These are Australia. It's Australia who we really need to be able to worry about. This is what we need to be able to break this off and take this out all the way through. Abel Rosa said on one thing, I only said Matt because he's the only celebrity that has done rugby movie stuff. The Departed, University Scene, and of course Invincible. I think it's called. No. I think you're thinking of Forever Strong. And with Morgan Freeman as Mandela. Obviously, yeah. And it's not Invincible. It's the oh my God, I don't know why. Don't you hate it whenever you're like on the spot and you're just like, wait, what is it? Goodness, this is shameful. Invictus. There we go. It's Invictus. I get it. But yeah, man, we can't take away from who else? Dude who did Forever Strong as well. Like, he did. I mean, don't get me wrong. He doesn't have the same, gusto of a name, but he got it some. We got to give him his credit. Also, Abel was saying, you think Ileana will be in the upcoming women's league? I feel like her huge social media might be a benefit for the league. I hope so. Obviously, the women's league is more 15s. So the decision is going to really be based off of the fact of, one, will Ileana want to move from 7s to 15s for short periods of time, which I would love because I want her to play with the 15 side. I want our super squad back for the Rugby World Cup. I don't feel like it's going to happen, but I would want her side for the Rugby World Cup. Number two, I do feel like her social media would work, though I feel like her social media is far better while it is women empowerment, and the irony of what I'm saying is that I do feel like with the women's league, their promotability is, yes, women's empowerment, but they have storylines that I think are going to be more necessary to show. And I think with Ileana Mar's side, I mean, if she plays and balls out, it might work. But I don't feel like her audience is going to travel over to the women's side directly, unless she's somehow doing a behind the scenes or really breaking down what it is that they're going to be doing, like really breaking down like the women's league and the day-to-day that goes along with it. And she didn't really do that much with the women's 7 sides. Of course, a few. Actually, honestly, of all the people, Ariana Ramsey is one who's getting increased following on social media and probably does the most of all of them in terms of social media posting, I think, and most creative ones as well too. And Naya Tapper as well. Like, everybody's kind of putting their thing together. So honestly, with this Olympics, if they do well on the pitch, everything that we've been working for, that they've been working for, that we've been hoping for as a rugby community in the U.S., I think will finally be a great turnover. I feel like they will get the celebrity that they are just due. But we have to medal. We have to medal. All right. This is both men and women's, but for the women, they have to medal. No 4th place, no 5th place, no coming. It's either silver or bronze. And honestly, it's really silver or gold because we're the US. Silver or gold. So that's where I'm going with it. Yo, let me know what you guys think. What was your thoughts whenever they announced the USA Women's Olympic Rugby side for the Olympics? We're still going to be waiting for the other ones. I think Ireland put theirs out, but I'm going to wait until we get more teams dropping in before I go ahead and talk about the other rosters that are going to be coming in, because with that is going to make a huge deal on whether or not how our matchups are going to all end up turning out. And I really hope that we get a great one. But of course, we still got a repechage Rapaji that we still got to get done beforehand. And we're going to actually talk about that next. But let's get taking care of the people who take care of us first. We'll be right back. Just stay tuned. Let's talk about what's going to be happening in the World of Repechage Sevens this weekend. Once we get back, this is Gift Bailey Rugby Swag Show.
Buckwheat is changing lives. My name is Gift Bailey. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to tell you about one of my favorite products on our shelves, buckwheat baking mix. Buckwheat is a seed that is incredibly nutrient and protein dense. But what makes it even more important, that buckwheat baking mix is absolutely gluten-free. A lot of times whenever people have buckwheat mixes, they actually even hold wheat inside of it. So you know it's not fully gluten. And if you're a person that is celiac or diabetic, or you're just really trying to be health conscious, it's not something that you want to have to worry about. What makes our buckwheat baking mix even more important is that it is versatile. You can use it for pancakes, you can use it for waffles, you can use it for making loaves of bread, you can make it for cupcakes. But what helps even more is that it is allergen free, it is nut free, it is dairy free, that there is no additional additives in it. There's no leavening there, so that if you want to be able to raise your bread, you can put in the baking powder yourself and get it fluffy. If you don't, you absolutely do not have to. You get the bread that you love without the cost to your health. You can absolutely find buckwheat baking mix at healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely check it out. Get your nostalgia back. Get back to eating and loving the way that you are, and absolutely get back to the energy that you know that you can get without having to destroy yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing you get it. Let's go.
Welcome back. All right, cool. Look, we're going to be talking about the World Sevens Repechage. Yo, shout out to Jason Bray for explaining it. Even though there's no R in it, Repechage, like, is this a French word? Because this has to be a French word. This is why it's got to be difficult for no reason. But shout out for him phonetically putting it out. Repechage, like charge as in you charge into a fight. All right, you know. And also big shout out 53A17E is talking about I was shocked and disappointed Emba wasn't included. Yeah, I know, man. This is a hard one. It's a hard one. But hey, man, still got Olympics to go do, and the World Rugby Sevens Repechage is finally going to be here. This is the tournament that is to fill in the final spot for both the men's and women's team for the Olympic side. And this is one that I think, this is some good freaking competition. It is good freaking competition. Confirmation by Jason Bray. If it's difficult, it's French. 100%. Always. People always say, you're talking Greek, you're talking Chinese. No, we're talking French. All right. But this year's World Rugby Sevens Repechage, I feel actually a little sad because one of these teams are not going to make it. And I do feel like there's at least like maybe 3 teams, definitely from the men's side, 4 teams from the men's side, and maybe at least like 2 or 3 from the women's side that I feel absolutely deserve to be in the Olympics. But it's going to be one that is difficult. So let's kind of look through it. We're gonna break it down per pools because they broke down the pools already, and we're gonna get it in. All right. But first, before we even kick that in, one of the teams that were supposed to be in there is Papua New Guinea, and it was announced just this past week that they will not be able to compete for a position in the repechage. Unfortunately, they were unable to get documentation in, and they will not be able to travel respectively to that. So, shout out Abel. Hey, you said your beloved Mexico is going to get wrecked on both sides, but hey, they're not going to get worried about Papua New Guinea. At least they get to be there. So let's take a look first and foremost at the women's side, and let's talk about it. All right. So Pool A is giving us Argentina sevens for the women's side. All right. Pool A is Argentina, Kenya, Papua New Guinea, which is now canceled. And they also said in the rules is that they're not replacing Papua New Guinea with any new team, but they're basically going to be considering that as an automatic win. So, shout out to Argentina, Kenya, and Samoa all getting at least one win based off of the forfeit that is Papua New Guinea for the women's side. Now, this one is going to be an interesting one because of these 3 teams that are going to be competing. I believe Kenya Sevens actually was a contender off of the Challenger Cup, and they didn't win it, but they were second place. I think they fell to China on that one, which means that they're going to be very dangerous. The ironic part is they definitely are not getting their money well. So I'm really hoping Kenya government, if the women do end up winning it all, they get what they're absolutely just due. Argentina Sevens also was part of the Challenger Cup. Absolutely got kind of mollywopped a little bit. But I think this is a competitive team. And then Samoa Sevens is always kind of up and down. They have the experience and the talent, but the talent is also kind of lacking. I do feel like whenever, at least moving on, this is going to be down to Kenya Sevens and Argentina Sevens to move out of the pool play for that one. I think Samoa Sevens is going to be the odd woman out. Pool B includes Hong Kong's China Sevens, Jamaica Sevens, Paraguay Sevens, and Uganda Sevens. Now, this is one bracket that I think is probably the most interesting of the brackets because of the fact Jamaica Sevens and Uganda Sevens, I think, are grotesquely underestimated. And Hong Kong China Sevens, I know on the West, in the U.S., we're probably a little bit out of the range of information, but Hong Kong, outside of Hong Kong Sevens, has a very deep rugby community. It's a very strong rugby. It's the strongest in Asia, I think, arguably. Jason, let me know if you're still watching, if that's accurate. I believe Hong Kong has the strongest rugby setup and system in Asia right now. And Hong Kong China Sevens, I feel, is one that is trying to make their break in for whatever it's all worth. I think China wasn't able to make it in because Japan ended up winning, but this would be a nice little caveat to get in. Jamaica Sevens women have been amazing when it comes to the Rugby Americas North. Definitely one of the best in the Caribbean, especially after now Trinidad and Tobago got completely mollywopped by Colombia just this past week, like 98-0, which doesn't even make sense. Anyway, that's a whole other side. But the team that I have truly talked about, I think for the better part of the last 2 years, and you've seen it on other episodes, is Uganda Sevens. Uganda Sevens is underrated on so many levels. Those women are probably going to be the surprise of it all when it all comes down to it. I think their biggest competition, and we'll talk a little bit more on the Pool C, but I think their biggest competition is going to be their continental rival, which is Kenya Sevens when it comes down to it. Now, out of this pool, I do think Uganda Sevens and Jamaica Sevens are going to end up winning it. I think they just got the size of the speed over Paraguay, which is a small team. They're nimble, but they're a tiny team. And they're not ready to be able to get on that stage. And Hong Kong China Sevens, again, is also a solid team, but they're okay. They're okay. I think they're going to get outsized and they're going to get worn down. But Uganda Sevens, Jamaica Sevens, I do feel are going to end up being top 2 out of this pool. And that's going to be a massive deal. But I think Uganda Sevens is going to end up being number 1 in this Pool B. And then lastly, Pool C is China Sevens, Czechia, which is the Czech Republic, Mexico, and Poland. Now, shout out to Abel Rosa, not the greatest faith in Mexico, and understandably so. Obviously, shout out to friend of the show, Jen Solomon, who is constantly on the Mexico Sevens side. I don't know if she's set to play in this repechage, essentially, but she's been one of the key supporters and probably was one of the first women to be able to play for this Mexico side. This is, though, I think arguably is probably the weakest of the pools. Now, out of it, China Sevens they've already won the Challenger Cup. They already won their promotion into the HSBC Sevens. I think it's hands down, they're going to end up winning this Pool C. I think the other one is going to end up being Poland. Low key, Poland actually is kind of talented. Like, you watch them in the Challenger Cup and kind of see them in some of their stuff, especially like when they played in, I think, the European ones against like Germany and Switzerland and some of that. Like, they did damage. Them folk work in the cold, man. Like, they did their job. I don't think they're going to do very much outside of pool play, and I definitely don't think they're going to beat China. But I think they're going to end up being the top two that comes out from that. And then obviously Mexico and Czech Republic are going to be the odd women out on this one. So, all right, let's move on to the men's side, because this is the one that I feel also hurts my soul a little bit, because there is so much potential on here, and a little bit is a little shocking that they're in this position. So, all right, Pool A for the men, all right? We got Chile, Mexico, South Africa, and Tonga. Now, the reason why I say this is so offsetting to me is because of the fact that South Africa has been so notoriously good at sevens, so notoriously good, but they lost to Kenya in the Africa Cup. And I was shocked. Now, it feels like they might be pulling a lot of their resources into obviously professional play, which shouldn't make a difference for the international, but they pulled it into the 15s and won the Rugby World Cup in 2019 and 2023 respectively. But my goodness, like sevens, yo, these are the people that had like Cecil Africa. Like, I used to call them the locks of doom, because they had so many speedy locks. Like, they were nothing but athleticism and just dominating for so long, outside of like the game against Japan and what was it in the Olympics in 2016? In 2016, when Japan beat them unceremoniously. But other than that, they've been so dominant. But to see them in the repechage, that I can't even imagine. I do feel like South Africa is going to end up winning this one overall. And then on the low end, Chile. Chile has been an increasing and more progressively competitive team. We saw them already make it for the Rugby World Cup. We've seen them throughout South America slowly make more of an impact bit by bit. They did some damage over in the Challengers Cup as well, too, when Challenger Sevens Cup, as they were progressing on. And I think they really have a chance. But I do think South Africa is going to be better on this one, and they'll come out as top on Pool A with Chile Sevens following through. And then Mexico and Tonga are going to be the odd men out on that one. Pool B, you got Canada, China, Great Britain, and Uganda. This one, once again, another incredibly interesting, and I think probably one of the better ones that are there. Shout out 553-817. Damn, that he says, they say, damn, that is a shocker for the Blitz block. Exactly. It's wild that they are in the repechage. You would think they would have had automatic bid, but no, they just ain't been doing it like that. But for this Pool B, Uganda, Great Britain, and China are really, I think it's going to end up being Uganda and Great Britain. Canada Sevens men, for some reason, has just tanked. Like, their resources tanked. Their care tanked. Like, everything about them has tanked. Like, there was a time when they were dominant. Remember with like Phil I forgot his last name, but was it Phil Sean? No, it wasn't Phil Sean. But anyway, for whatever it is, absolutely, they were always at least competitive. You know, you could expect them to at least get, top 5, top 7 in any sevens as well. But the men's suck. Like, it's not even arguable. They suck. So I don't even think they're going to compete in this. China Sevens, I think, is going to be nimble. All right, but for some reason, China men just they don't do well on sevens. Like, they should do a lot better, but they get overpowered very, very easily, and it's always kind of sad to watch. But the Uganda and Great Britain are the ones that I feel are going to be it. Once again, I have been on the Uganda train for so long. That is a rugby program on the rise that needs to be talked about more. They are easily, outside of Kenya, maybe the best or second best rugby program in Africa right now in terms of sevens. 15s is still working their way, but in terms of sevens, I think they might be the best program, men's and women's, in Africa. Shout out until Nigeria gets their stuff fully together and really get their rhythm. But, until then, Uganda is there. And Madagascar is sitting there on the side over there, like waiting. Like they're waiting over there, trying to wait, but they just need the money. But Uganda Sevens, I think Uganda Sevens and Great Britain are going to end up coming out of this one. I think Great Britain is going to see a different influx of players now that professional is kind of over. URC obviously is coming. URC is coming to an end this weekend with the championship game of the Bulls and Glasgow Warriors. Premiership is over. I mind you, they're not going to be for maybe this one, but I do feel like you're going to see more. And we've seen Great Britain play during the HSBC Sevens. They're not great. They're not really that good. They're formidable. And within this pool, I think they're going to be formidable enough. But I do think that Uganda Sevens end up getting a top one on this one. And then finally, Pool C, where you have Brazil, shout out to Brazil, Hong Kong, China, Papua New Guinea, who's obviously disqualified, and Spain. Now, this is one that, again, is interesting because it's a bunch of underestimated. Again, mind you, Papua New Guinea is knocked out of this one. But Brazil men have always been just on the edge of getting over, just capable. They have the talent. I know when we're here, Sao Paulo and Rio is basically where most of them come from. They usually have played overseas at some point in time and then come through. Brazil men have a lot of talent, building talent to go with. They just tend to underachieve. Now, who I do believe is going to come out very easily on top of this one, Spain Sevens. Spain is by far the best team in this Pool C. They are underestimated how quick they are. That soccer to rugby pipeline that they kind of got going on is legitimately working for them. It's very similar to what's going on with Portugal. At Spain is very nimble. They got promoted up to HSBC Sevens as well too, so they know how to win. Like, to be able to get the Olympics and get back to HSB Sevens, bro. It's you can't talk anything less on that one. Like, they are going to end up doing something with this one. But I do think that Brazil Sevens is going to be able to knock some out. Hong Kong, China is just a China team that wasn't able to qualify before. It's China up there, but it's like the second squad of it. Like, it's I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to be the odd men out on this one when it comes down to it. I'm going to start saying 5-3. Hey, baby. He's like, I can't wait for Uganda and eventually Nigeria to join the mix. Africa has a bunch of sleeping giants. 100%. Sean, I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. Thank you for putting the name to it, because 5-3-8-1-7 is definitely takes a lot of energy for me. But yes, I can't wait for Nigeria to kick in, and they are. Shout out Stephen Lewis and really being able to guide this one, and Fred Gamu, Freddie Ajuda, Henry Ajudwa. Shout out to friends of the show. But yeah, like this Pool C, I think is going to be Spain and Brazil on this one, and I do think it's going to come out. When it comes down to it, my predictions for who's going to be winning it from the women's side, real talk, from the women's side, the way it looks, I do actually think that it's either going to be Uganda or Kenya. I don't think there's another team that is as matched. Or, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. It's going to be China. It's going to be China. I think it's going to come down to China and Uganda, but I think China's going to come out on top. I think they just know how to win. They've just been there a little bit more. You know, they just gotten a chance to work with it a little bit more, get down to it a little bit more, and been on the bigger stage. But I think Uganda is really going to take advantage, and I hope the government of Uganda also takes advantage of that. From the men's side, man, it should be South Africa. Man, it really should be. If South Africa doesn't do it, like the they might need to just go ahead and cancel their sevens program because clearly they don't care. But I said there was like 2 or 3 teams that I wanted to come out of this one that I really think would be able to do it. And it's South Africa, Great Britain, Uganda, and Spain. Those are the 3 teams. I do think that the men's is going to come down to South Africa and Spain sevens, though. And that's why I said it should be South Africa. I think it's going to be Spain who ends up winning it. I think Spain is going to get that last spot because they are feisty, they are tacklers, they know how to pass, and they know how to kick, which is great for positioning. Sucks as a prop, great for positioning in sevens. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are, man. Like, where do you guys feel like this is going to go? How do you feel like the repechage is going to actually show out in this year? I truly have no idea. But look, like I said, I think it's going to be women, Uganda, China. I think China is going to win. And I think it's going to come down to Spain and South Africa, where I do believe that I think Spain is probably going to get the win on that one. But Sean, like you, I believe my brain says that South Africa should win. My heart says Spain should win, and I'm going to go with my heart on this one. But I want to know what you guys thought. Let me know in the comments. Obviously, hit us up wherever you want, and let's break this down. Let's see where it goes. All right, y'all. We got ads. We're going to be right back. Don't stay tuned because, we got some wild news that's happening out of Australia. Like, them rugby players really showing that what it means to be tough. They don't do much for union, but my goodness, at least they're doing enough for the streets. We'll be right back. This is the Rugby Swag Show with Gift Bailu. Be right back.
They're the wheat flour that you can eat. My name is Gift Time at Bailu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods. And I want to tell you about one of our best and most beloved products, our sweet white wheat baking mix. Now, this is the baking mix for those who are not really looking for something that's gluten-free, but they are looking for something that they can eat that is going to still be healthy and is not going to be dangerous. White flour is typically a very processed, incredibly bleached flour, and it's not good for you. It's incredibly cheap for a reason. Our sweet white wheat bread mix is whole grain, dairy-free, high in dietary fiber, free of additives, and is absolutely unprocessed and unrefined. With our sweet white wheat bread mix, you can feel like you're getting all the same rewards that you would get from poor white bread, but with all the nutritional value. You're able to still make your bread loaves or your cakes, your flat bread or your cookies, but you don't have to feel like you are going to be robbing yourself of good carbohydrates. You can get the sweet white wheat bread mix from healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely go impress your friends and family with the greatest bread while not making them feel like they have to be gluten-free at the same time. No dangers, full body pleasures. Go ahead and get yours today. Let's go.
Hey, welcome back. Just before we get started on this next story, man, I just want to talk to some of the comments out there. Abel Rosa talking about just this last story. South Africa will easily, no problem, in my opinion, but I kind of feel maybe Chile would be causing an upset, which I do feel is very well possible. Again, this Blitzball team is not the same that we've seen in the past before, so I would not put it past them to just mess around and lose to a Chile who is just hungrier, who is excited, who's already feeling it from being in the Rugby World Cup and wants to show out for the rest of the nation and really be able to pull some stuff off. No, I feel that. Sean goes, Spain knocked my Samoa out of the 2016 Olympics. Hey, man, look, again, Spain's a major spoiler out here, man. Like, they have been steadily progressing better, getting better and better. Like, they're like one of the best, worst teams that are there, which means that you always have to be cautious of them. You don't expect them to actually like take it to the edge. But when it comes to competitions like this, where it's like, who is going to be able to get to the top of the pile? That is one of those teams that are like, will always get in there. And then USA Rugby League and Union fan said, I spoke to Kat Roche on Saturday and congratulated her on being chosen for the Olympics. Kat Roche, alongside with our boy out of Florida, got chosen as referees for the Olympics this year, which is spectacular. Love American presence on the ref field. Push it in all the Europeans who always hate on us faces, always like, oh, you Americans don't know rugby, blah, 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 blah. We are now running the rules, baby. Let's go. Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank y'all for the comments also. Absolutely. Please continue on. But I want to move on to our next story, which is talking about a really significant bit of news that happened in Australia this past week, where a rugby player literally said, hey, man, I'm tired of these people getting all up in our neighborhoods and making it dangerous for no reason, and chased down a knife-wielding stabber, man. Let's go to the news on Australia 9 News about what happened in this situation.
Allegedly armed, 2 teens approach a parked ute with 2 men inside. One opens the door.
She actually saw a gentleman holding quite a large, what looked like a kitchen knife.
What happens next? An alleged stabbing attack. One victim stabbed in the stomach, the other slash wounds to his wrist and thigh, before both of the attackers flee with a bag of cannabis allegedly stolen from inside the ute. A Good Samaritan saw it all unfold and decided to give chase.
Got out of my vehicle and I approached him and I said, I saw you had a knife and I've also got cameras at the front of my house, so you should stop. I'm going to call the police.
The teen couldn't outrun the former Western Force rugby player.
While we were running, I said to him, madam, if you want to keep running, I can run quite far. So I suggest you just stop and wait for the police.
Police arriving shortly after, arresting one of the boys along Jackson Avenue, the other found hiding in a bush. As the injured men were treated along Francis Avenue, they were rushed to hospital where they remain in a stable condition. One of the 16-year-olds also injured.
I encouraged him to sit down and I'm going to get him some help. So the young, he would look like a teenager, sat down and eventually I made him quite calm and he sat down and my wife and I called the police and an ambulance.
He was treated at PCH and released into police.
So, yeah, okay. So, as you guys can see, what a story. What a story. Also, shout out to USA Rugby League and Union fan, the other ref, Cisco Lopez. I like I said, my boy from Florida, sometimes just brain fart because multiple things happening at the same time. So shout out to, thank you very much. But yeah, man, this story really caught my attention because I think it's always funny. This is essentially Bernard Standard, who is a former rugby player, used to play for the Western Force, who I used to think was maybe the 3rd worst team in rugby in the world from professional rugby, but they've really shown out really recently. But I love this story of the rugby guy chasing down the attackers, and it felt mild, even though it was like, yo, a kid got stabbed, and then also they were kids themselves. But from what I took from the story, it was almost like it's what you always hear from, like, what would you do if you're in a bar as a rugby player and somebody, you know, steps in? Like, it's unusual, but it's legit. And he went in, and I think the funniest part about that was the story of him, like, saying, look, you guys can keep running. I can keep doing this all day. Felt very Captain America-ish, you know? And I thought this was just a great story to talk about. Like, what would you do if it's a rugby player? Like, we got all these skills. We're running, you know, we tackling, you know, our chase down ability. Hey, when it comes down to it now, I think it was also very lucky, and I definitely wouldn't recommend this on a regular basis. Like, if a crime happens, you know, call the police, which thankfully he did. But call the police because, you know, you don't want to catch the end. You want to be a victim in the process of trying to be a hero. But if you can be a hero, yo, like that skill, boom, knocking them down, bop, get that breakdown. And also show, like, hey, man, this conditioning. I had to do Bronco drills for all this running. Y'all out here trying to kill people for no reason, breaking into cars, trying to be all stupid about it with kitchen knives. Like, yo, this is dumb. You're dumb. But I think it's the calmness also that he had, which also goes along with like, what it means whenever you have the capability. Like when you have the capability to not give a damn about anybody's physical presence. Like the way that he says, like, I approached him and I said, I saw you had a knife, and I also got cameras at the front of my house, so you should stop. I'm gonna call the police. Like, and then he said, while we were running, I said to him, mate, if you want to keep running, I can run quite far. So I suggest you just stop and wait for the police. Like, it's so gangster for no reason. Yo. It's just gangster for no reason. And I just love it. Look, this is what we want. This is what we do. Whenever we go like, hey man, rugby play, this is the not only is the camaraderie sport, like this is one of the hardest sports to be able to play. This is one of the dopest sports. Like this is what we want. This is what we want. Where it's like, yo, if I'm gonna be a hero, I'm casually just gonna be a hero. I'm just gonna casually be a hero. But shout out to him. Shout out to Brian Stabbard for being able to. I said Brian Stabbard. Shout out to Brian Bernard Standard for being the hero in this one and casually saving 2 victims that got stabbed in the belly. And quick background on him: he played over 20 times for the Sharks in the Currie Cup in 2012 and 2013. Went to Australia in 2014 to play in the Western Force and played in over 70 Super Rugby games, obviously for basically a crappy team, but decided to hang up his boots in 2022, his cleats in 2022. And, hey, man, he's living life, man. Shout out to them. All right. I'm going to do us a favor. Typically, I was going to go into another ad, but I feel like that was kind of a short story. There wasn't really too much to go into it. So let's just kind of shift in to the next one because we're staying in Australia on this one. And I think that this one is a really interesting story when it comes to Eddie Jones. Because if you guys don't know, this week Eddie Jones is going back to Twickenham Stadium and going to be playing against his former team from literally 12 months ago. Literally 12 months ago, maybe 14 months ago in England, and playing against Steve Boswick, the guy who took over for him after, in this Japan test match, Japan-England test match. Now, one of the things that make this really interesting was the fact that Eddie Jones is very adamant about the fact that he truly believes that it was a better move to be able to move from Australia to Japan, because he truly does not believe that domestic rugby is sustainable in Australia. So if you guys don't know, Eddie Jones, I'm with you, Abel Rosa. You got to love Eddie Jones. I know my Australian friend Jason absolutely loathes Eddie Jones. I know a lot of people loathe him, but this dude is just good for the sound bites, man. This dude is a sound bite machine. You know, obviously, if you guys don't know the history, Eddie Jones has been a long time coach. He played all over in Japan, Australian guy. He used to coach for the Australian national team back in like the 2000s, took him to the Rugby World Cup. They kind of did okay. Moved on to Japan. Moved on to some professional teams. Then went on to Japan, where he used the ups. He got Japan to the point where they upset South Africa, first and sevens, and then did it in 15s. Like, absolutely gangbusters. Took this Japan team in 2019 into Japan Rugby World Cup and absolutely had them lighting up. Took them higher than Japan should have ever played. But it pushed Japan legitimately into a Premier One. What do we call it? D1 team? Tier 1. Into a Tier 1 team. With that, he was able to maneuver that to a job in England, where he went from, I believe, I forgot the professional team, but then went to coach for England for the better part of like 3, 4, 5 years, where, you know, I think he had a good start and ended very unceremoniously. I think a lot of people felt like he wore out his stay. Felt was under serving the England team and was trying to play with the roster too much, as opposed to really actually, winning when it mattered most. Even though, ironically, he got England to the to finish second in the 2019 Rugby World Cup. I'm sorry, I said he was in Japan. 2016 Olympics and the 2015 Rugby World Cup is where he did damage with Japan. 2019, he lost to South Africa in the Rugby World Cup and came in second. And were at his visit. Subsequently, from there, going into the 2023 season of the Rugby World Cup, he went to Australia and tried to take back that over. Absolutely flopped in the Rugby World Cup. If you guys don't remember, they didn't even make it out of pool play. Australia, the selection was critiqued. The decision-making was critiqued. Everything was critiqued. Not a great look for Eddie Jones off of that one. And then right after, midway through the Rugby World Cup, got interviewed, even though he tried to deny it. And then subsequently moved up to Japan shortly after he was quit from Australia to go and work in Japan. And for him, he felt like this was the issue, because he was like, look, I love Japan. Obviously, he's part Japanese, part Australian. He said he really loves being in Tokyo and loves working with the Japanese people, which I think worked better for probably his style. From what I understand, he has a very militaristic style of playing. And I think with Japan, not that they require militarism, but there is a greater level of discipline that is attached to the culture that makes it easier to coach people to do what they do, as opposed to people might, want to overstep their experience and say, not to say that they not do, and if you don't have it, but, can be able to play around a little bit with that one. But to the point that he was making on this one, he said that he feels obviously better and relaxed about being in Japan. But he specifically talked about it. And I'm trying to find it directly on the article. You can find it on Planet Rugby. Oh, and Sean, you are right. Eddie Jones is definitely good for theatrics all the time. It is, where is he? Did they write it? Okay. So you said on the contradictions. So when it came to Australia, he said, so to help the national team, all right, we have to import those overseas players playing at a high level to increase the standard. But we still don't have enough players playing on the island itself. And one of the problems in the young professional leagues, simply put, we've built up a reservoir of stock of nationally qualified players, and that's the process right now. I'm sorry, this is what he was talking about for Japan. I'm sorry, that is not where I wanted to focus on. It was where are we? Wilkinson, extraordinary. Oh my goodness, I am losing where we had it. Well, anyways, the point is he wanted to be able to see what was going on more with Australia, and feels basically that Japan has probably a higher ceiling than what Australia did. And I mean, that speaks volumes. Again, it could be a little bitterness, could be a little petty, not like he's not known for that. But I do like to see what he would do with a place like Japan, where, again, he can have his hands more into it and they will back him more. Japan has the money. They have the professional league. They have a professional league that makes money or throws money away correctly. So you have the pieces. You just got to get the culture and you got to get the talent. And that's where it goes with it, with an Eddie Jones-led team. We're gonna see what they're gonna end up doing because of the Rugby World Cup, obviously in 2027, and getting that team ready for that. The article said, is like there's only 53% of players that are Japanese that play for the Japan team, which is a tough one. but make it happen. Again, we've seen it happen before. Japan is in a position where they are making major impacts and they have the resources to do it. Would love to be able to see it. And people don't realize, like, especially in Tokyo, Japan has a really deep rugby team. Shout out to my guys, Tokyo Gaijin, for always allowing me to be a part of that. That's where I learned heaviest the impact of rugby in Tokyo. So let me know what you guys think. I know it was a little bit of a slaggy story, but I think it's an interesting one, especially going into the England game. I really want to see what this team is going to be able to do against England. This is going to speak a lot of volumes for Bostwick. One, based off of what we saw from the Six Nations, a lot of potential, but again, not really being able to turn it over. And number two, what do we see from Japan, in this Autumn Cup and really being able to get it? I think in the U.S., you guys are going to be able to watch this on Flow Rugby. I think everywhere else, you watch it on Stars or whatever your Star Plus equivalency is. So, all right, y'all, let's, I'm going to go ahead and hit this up for the commercials. Next, we're going to be right back. We're going to talk a little bit about the roster selections for USA Rugby's test matches this summer. Guys, stay tuned. Definitely want to know what you guys feel on that one, but stay tuned. We'll be absolutely right back.
Don't you love a great ketogenic family? My name is Gifte Belu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Food. I wanted to talk to you about one of our top baking mixes, and that is our ketogenic baking mixes. We got a ketogenic seed baking mix, our ketogenic almond baking mix, and of course, our ketogenic coconut baking mix. Now, what is so important about it being ketogenic? Now, for those who don't know, ketogenic means that it is utilizing low carbs to be able to eat from. The point of it is so that your body will naturally activate burning from your fat and be able to sustain off your proteins rather than feeding your body carbohydrates and your body simply burning that and you just don't lose weight. And so whenever you're doing that process, it's incredibly difficult. And of course, you're always going to have a craving for wanting to eat the breads and the carbs that you typically would have. With our keto baking mixes, you can have the pancakes, the waffles, the cookies, the cakes, the pizza crust that you absolutely desire without sacrificing the work, your diet, and obviously the results that you are trying to get. All our ketogenic baking mixes are gluten-free, grain-free, plant-based, and absolutely loaded with natural vitamins and minerals. We want to make sure that they are low net carb, they have no added sugar, they are protein rich, they have good healthy fat, but even more importantly, they have a low glycemic level. So for those who are diabetic and you're also still trying to find something, we have the baking mixes that are for you. And I'm sure you're wondering, why make 3 versions of them if they all are basically doing the same thing? Well, we wanted to make sure, as always, that we are trying to specialize to your dietary need. So with our ketogenic coconut, we wanted to give you a version that allows you to have a sweeter bread without sacrificing your diet. But it provides you things that you can make with your cakes, you can make your cookies, but you can be able to not have to lose your mind trying to find things that can satiate the taste without ruining your diet. With our ketogenic almond baking mix, that is one that has probably the highest protein content. It allows you to be able to control your blood sugar levels, reduce your blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, and of course, it goes to promoting weight loss and being able to control the hunger. And for our ketogenic seed, this is for those who have a nut allergy and they can't take anything like the almonds. So we want to give them still the same thing. You can still make your bread. You can still make your pizza crust. You can still make your cakes and your buns and your muffins, but you don't have to worry about having an allergic reaction. You definitely can go check out the ketogenic line of products at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, keep up with your diet, get the foods that are necessary to keep you going, and let's get the results that you absolutely deserve. Let's go.
All right, yo, welcome back. All right, yo, we got our last story coming up, our last story of the day. It is about the USA Rugby Men's Eagles going and finally putting their 30-man roster, getting ready for the 2 test matches that we have this summer. Obviously, Romania coming up on July 5th, and then having Scotland coming up on July... or what is the date? Coming up on July 12th in DC. So 2 games that I think create opposite dynamics in terms of what we need from them, but really an opportunity to see what this Scott Lawrence program and what this Scott Lawrence beginning pool for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, but really for 2031 Rugby World Cup overall. And honestly, you know what? I thought this was actually a pretty solid, bloody lineup of players that we had breaking down into it. And then we're going to talk about a few of them. Of course, like I said, the key is being able to play against Romania and Scotland. I think for the Romania game, though, that one is definitely far more of a warm-up. All right. Now, if you guys don't remember, Romania was in the Rugby World Cup. I don't know how they made it into it, but they made it into it and proceeded to be the absolute whipping boy for everybody. They were over their heads and under their skis with the absolute battle whippings that they received in pool play. But again, a team that clearly was still able to make it into the Rugby World Cup. They won the games they needed to when it mattered most, leading to that. And, hey, that's still something that we need to watch out for. The U.S. hasn't done well enough in recent years to, not at least have that be a concern in some way, shape, or form. So, hey, man, look, shout out to them. But I do think this is an opportunity to be able to see really what the players are able to do, an easier opponent that we should beat. Like, we should beat Romania. Like, it would be very inexcusable for us to lose to a team like Romania. But it is one that I do believe that we have, and that would be a great one. But the real test is going to be whenever we go up against Scotland. And of course, obviously, Scotland, where they're going to be coming in hard. They got the best fly half in the guy from Bath, Finn Russell. And this is a team that is legitimately what we call worst of the best, or middle tier of the best, like always willing to upset a team in the Six Nations, upset when it, can get theirs in. They can beat the teams that aren't good, and they can beat the teams that are middle tier, but they never can just get it over the top, like that. So if we can compete against a Scotland team who we haven't really done much against since 2014, 2015. I think we might have gotten a win against them in 2018. But Scotland is a tier 1 team that constantly has our number. But it'll be a very good test match for us to be able to figure something out. So this roster, I believe, really is going to be one that takes advantage of the fact that we have all professional players, and 2, helps us to understand how the player pool funnel is really working. And also the anthem is definitely still a work in progress. Definitely still very much a work in progress. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. We're going to break it down into a little bit of parts. First off, we're going to talk about the props, hooker, locks. I really wanted to talk about 4 players because I don't know all the players that well. Forgive me, my MLR knowledge is still fairly developing. But there was 4 players that really did stand out to me from this that I thought would be incredibly impactful and are really good names. First off is Jake Turnbull, who I remember whenever he was with Seattle Seawolves. He's now with the Anthem. This is a prop who actually really makes an impact. Like, he's very tough within the scrums, and he can run. Like, he's not a heavy-footed person. Like, he got that little Mike Allstott in him. For those who don't know, it's okay. It's okay if you don't need to know. But I think he's got that Mike Allstott in him that can really make a difference on that. Next is Paul Mullen, who's with the Utah Warriors. And I felt like Paul Mullen is, again, a great selection for the 30-man. Really great on, would be a great opposing side for Jake Turnbull. Powerful. Both of them have already had USA Rugby Eagles experience. I think Paul Mullins was part of the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Not that that really says very much because that team didn't win anything. But I do feel like they now have a large, what do they call it? Amount of work play under their belt. Now, obviously, synchronization as a USA team is going to be really important, but I do feel like these are two really good props to be able to add in there. Then you got Dylan Fawcett, aka the Butcher, as called by Matt McCarthy. Dylan Fawcett, who was with the Ironworkers until they weren't the Ironworkers, and now he is currently playing with the Chicago Hounds. And I think that he's been good. He's always been into play, fast player. He knows how to get into the ruck. He knows how to get the ball out. He's been hard-nosed. Now, the irony with all these is that they are all insert foreign Americans. So I'm not mad at it. It's just, it's a funny little aspect. Obviously, Dylan Fawcett, Irish. Paul Mullins, Irish. Jake Turnbull, I believe, is Australian American. And then lastly, on this list that I think is pretty cool to watch, Cam Dolan, who is just notoriously been a figurehead in USA Rugby, plays for New Orleans Gold, really great guy out of Florida, obviously initially, but like he is veteran lock who plays as elite as anybody does. I think the only reason he never really didn't play very much overseas is because he just didn't want to. He wanted to be at home, and I think that makes sense, but he could have easily, I think he already did. He did play overseas. He did play overseas. Who's did he play for? Yeah, he played for Nottingham. He played for Cardiff. Yeah, he played for Cardiff and played for Northampton Saints. Like, he is absolutely a monster, an absolute monster at lock. And I feel like against Romania should do some damage. You know, he's getting long in the tooth. I'm not gonna front, but you know, he's still got a lot of legs underneath him. Ain't nothing to worry about on that one. All right. So next, I want to look at the next section, which is the flankers, fly halves, number 9, that was put in, and centers. Two people really stood out for me in this one that I think are going to be game changers. Number 1, AJ McGinty is on the list. AJ McGinty coming back over from Bristol Bears, absolute beast of a team, even though they couldn't do anything in the Premiership. But him being back always is a fixture. It's always an advantage. Knows how to maneuver the ball, knows how to kick. That one's going to make the difference. We know what AJ McGinty can do. He's been doing this for like 15 years now. Or it feels like 15 years. Probably it's closer to like 10 years. But it's just we know how he goes. The other one is Ruben De Haas, who plays in South Africa for Cheetahs. This is one where I think, you know, he had his time with the Gilgronis, really fast passing scrum half, and that scrum half to fly half connection is going to be the biggest difference maker, especially when it comes to playing against Scotland on the July 12th. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing us have a scrum half that can get the ball out. Now, he's been a bit player for most of where he's been at, but I think that's just because he's had really a lot of talent in front of him. He did play for the Gilgronis, did well with them, did solid with them. And obviously played for the Cheetahs. He's gotten a few teams under his belt there. But I think that connection of Ruben De Haas going over to get into AJ McGinty is going to make leaps and bounds in terms of our decision and how quickly the offense, especially Scott Lawrence, who likes to use a lot of sweeping plays to be able to offset the defense and really open up the inside space for forwards and for his backs, really. Like, open it up down the middle so you can cut through. That's, if you watch him at Life University, you see the same thing. Open it up wide, and then cut it inside, hit the pods, cut, and, you know, pretty solid spacing for that one. Next, we got and the last set. I'm not gonna go into the non-traveling reserves. I'm sorry, this is not the biggest deal, but it was the wings, and this is the ones like the triplet is really Christian Dyer, Nate Augsburger, and Connor Mooningham, who I think is an awesome combination there. Nate Augsburger, who is doing so well with Chicago Hounds, even though Chicago Hounds are kind of sucking and losing a lot in a row right now. But I think whenever he moved there from San Diego, really big play. Obviously, he's a veteran of this, so he knows what he's doing when it comes to that play. But Christian Dyer with the Sabercat, tough nose wing. Like tough nose wing. That's what we need from our wings, especially playing in these test matches. A lot more ability to take contact and also to be able to break tackles. Now, not just trying to speed out and get locked in, but even more importantly, know how to tackle well. These are the two that really make it. And the addition of Connor Mooningham, who's playing with Seattle Seawolves, formerly Life University, I think that one is going to be about how well you can tackle the edges, which again strengthens what happens in the middle, which is where Scott Lawrence loves to play in. Get the forwards into the work and really make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do and make sure these teams are playing out. So I think this is a really solid 30-man squad. I do hope that we see a 2-0 result that comes off from this July 5th, but I have hope in this one. It feels like you got a solid set of new players, a solid set of older players. Everybody seems to have an experience that is legitimate. And of course, the daily training regimen, because they all play in the MLR, helps. And hopefully the workload is actually equal, because I remember the last time we had this really over the course of the last 4 years, the complaint was that MLR has an easier conditioning regimen than the international, and the players were not converting very well. I think that's probably changing. There's a lot more partnership because, hey, these games are being played in MLR stadiums, so it'd be in the benefit of the MLR to be part of that development. And of course, the anthem being a part of this is a bit byproduct of Scott Lawrence's program to try and develop these teams, get ready for the 2031 Rugby World Cup in the USA. You got to be able to do what you're supposed to do. Do what you're supposed to do out of this. That's all I'm trying to say. So let me know what you guys think. What is your thoughts when it comes to the 30-man roster that comes for the USA Eagles? Do you feel like we finally can kind of maybe win some games, like some real games? No snoozers, no more like of this, I want to call it the COVID slump that we've been having. And even though it technically started before COVID, I feel like 2019 was a horrible year for USA Rugby Eagles. In 2018 too. But do you think we can actually win a game? Do you think Scott Lawrence is now putting together a competent team? Man, I want to hear it. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you feel about it. I'm here with it. We're getting 2-0 with it. All right, let's get these last ads. We got one more story. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the MLR, and just hang tight, and we're going to be our closing messages and go from there. This is Gifted Bailu with Rugby Swag Show. We'll be right back.
I'm going to let you get back to the show. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. But in 2024, it is necessary that you have your own website. Don't let anybody tell you social media is the only place that you can be able to advertise. You need your own home. And the best home to be able to purchase online is through Green Geeks. This is the web host platform that gives you the most for the cheapest price, y'all. I've been using Green Geeks for almost 10 years now, and off the WordPress platform, I've been able to customize and create websites to my desire and to the liking that I need. Included with it, they give you some of the best customer service in the business, and I cannot say enough about them. They have been able to be a great assistance to everything I do. And if you guys want to be able to start today at $4.95 per month, go to the link in the bio or the link in the caption, depending on where you're at, and go use it to help the show and get your site up right away. There's no reason that you need to be having complications, that you need to be paying thousands of dollars to be able to do it, or even thousands of dollars per month to be able to get your website up. Go to Green Geeks, check it out, support the show. All right, let's get you back.
All right, y'all. We are back. Final story, quick thing Sean put out here, which I can understand. I will say it's improving. He goes, man, to be honest, I hardly watch MLR now, so I don't even know who are the best Americans. And being in Hawaii, the New Zealand time zone works best for my rugby viewing time. Honestly, I completely understand, especially having visited Hawaii. And I remember that 5-hour difference from Louisiana, where I was like, I think at the time it was Mike and Mike. And I remember like going to a bar and I'm being like, yo, why is Mike and Mike on at 1 o'clock in the morning? Like, doesn't it come on at 6 o'clock in the morning? And then I realized, oh, shoot, our time is way back. We are way the freak in the past right now. So, no, I completely understand fully where you're coming from on that one. Fully understand. But, I think with the MLR right now, and this is where it's going to come in, you have an opportunity, like the on-field product has improved. I think our issues has always been what's going on off the field. How they promote, how they put stuff out. I think last time I talked, I tried to talk about the city jerseys that they were doing, and that Houston had put together probably the most Houston style jersey that I'd seen from any of the MLR teams. Everybody else had just stylized jerseys, but I didn't feel like any of them really committed to the community. I know New Orleans used a person in the community, but it's always the colors, and I feel like they're missing the part of New Orleans that really is needing to be captured, and not the part of New Orleans that is gentrified. But like with Houston, they did it. And I think the other thing is going to be how they continue to sell the championship game. Now, this year, the championship games are going to be at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego. Tickets are officially on sale for it. The playoffs are looking good. We got Houston SaberCats, Seattle Seawolves on the west. We got New England, and we got the New Orleans Gold arguably on the east. My dark horse, not even dark horse, my favorite to win it all is the Houston SaberCats. Their team is just punishing people. Just punishing people. But what you do at these championship games, I think, sets a precedent, because it is the time where you have the event where you can bring everybody's eyes to it. It's not time zone related. It's not you're not being limited by the fact that you have all these games and you're putting games on top of each other and people have to split their time against it. You finally have an opportunity to get all the eyes that you have, that you connect with, that you're sending emails to, that you're connecting with on social media, to this one, and it has to be the single most entertaining product. Now, last year they did it in Chicago, I think SeatGeek Stadium, and they really tried to bring the party out. I think they had Shaq DJing, and they had flat step Murphys or jump kick Murphys at it. Again, I think it was a really reasonable effort. They brought energy. It wasn't greatly viewed, but again, you have a reputation. It's what are you going to do next? How are you going to one-up yourself? Or are you going to try and stick to the status quo and just be another game and, maybe a few little extras here and there? Are you storylining when it comes down to it? That one's going to be important. But what they do at the stadium is going to be really massive. And honestly, I think the stadium is probably the least important. What they do for the telecast is going to be the most important thing. And if they don't have a great telecast going for it, I think it continues to hurt the development and the interest that goes to wanting to continue to watch the MLR teams really do their thing. And I think these players work incredibly hard to get where they need to do and provide at least a solid product. So if you guys don't know, absolutely, MLR championship tickets, get it ahead in advance. Probably cheaper now than it is when it'll be going on August 4th when the games actually go down. So, try and get yours when you can get yours, baby. All right. Oh, man. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. All right. So, everything is frozen right now. Okay. So, y'all, I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for the patience that you guys have had on the return. Obviously, it has been very, very inconsistent, but we're looking to really be able to make this, really pop out more. Obviously, constantly trying to improve the show, but don't forget, please go check out some of our past episodes, definitely some of our interviews. We're going to be really, really working to try and get more interviews out. I'm looking forward to this July because a lot of things are happening. Training camp, so the Louis Rees-Zammit story gets to go even higher. And of course, we got the Olympics, so we're going to try and do something a little bit special. Also forgot Juneteenth today on the point of recording and watching it live, man. Shout out to the traditions. This is a very, very meaningful day. It's got something. I need to still finish the edit for the video that I'm not going to get until probably later this week or even next week, but it's in remembrance for this. And of course, like I said, check out some of our stuff coming in last week and the time before. Yo, Abel Ross, big shout out, man. Thank you, King. Again, congratulations. I appreciate what you do. Abel, I appreciate you for not only providing your time, but providing your compliments and obviously your knowledge and interaction as well. And thank you to everybody. Sean as well for the interaction. Jason for the interaction. Y'all don't even forget, we always are trying to be this Wednesdays. We are live on it. And of course, put it onto the podcast on Thursdays and break it down on the YouTube clips later on. So guys absolutely can check it out there. But in the meantime, I hope that you guys are happy. I hope that you guys are healthy. And most importantly, I hope that you know that you guys are highly favored. Yo, you guys, please don't forget that you are absolutely highly favored. Until next time, y'all, guys, take care. Cheers.